For the session on the magic of generative AI. I request CA Geeta AB, Vice Chairman, SARC, to escort the speaker of the day, CA Anand Prakash. It's my privilege to introduce the speaker of the session, Anand Prakash, a passionate evangelist for tech-based disruption in risk, audit, and finance domain. He is professional chartered accountant and certified information systems auditor. He is a managing partner at AJA, an organization with focus in the area of risk analytics, fraud analytics, machine learning, and blockchain for business in North America and India. Anand was part of risk management team at Goldman Sachs, covering multiple audits across much geography for different functions in the organization. His areas of specialization were forex audit, DP audits, anti-money laundering, Basel II, BCP, and operational risk. With this brief introduction, I request you to take over the session, sir. Thank you.
Fixing up a small issue of getting the collar mic done. Yeah, nice. Not used. Oh, not used. Oh my God. Seriously? Why? Or you're not getting it exciting or anything as such, or have been, okay, let me put it other way around. I'm assuming like we have maybe 10% of the people who have not used ChatGPT as one of the kind of a technology. It's just an outcome today, which I'm actually trying to delve for next 1.5 hours. And I'll try to keep it as elementary as possible so that we all understand and appreciate it. That would be on what we call it as a topic of the fourth industrial revolution and generative AI, and how is it impacting finance and audit. Generative AI is a new buzzword. I don't know how many of you are aware, but last 10 months has been a roller coaster for the world of, you can just say the computing world as such. When I say roller coaster, if you go from my introduction, I have worked at Infosys. How many of you have been seeing Infosys annual statement or Wipro's or TCS annual statement for last the quarterly reports and all things? How many of you seeing one very interesting trend which is there, which I don't know if anyone has noticed, but they always publish what is the addition to the workforce, what is the separation from the workforce. And if you see the trend of last 10 years, the addition would be always 2x of what is the separation is going to be. And less people are getting added to that. Now, is it a good trend or a bad trend? It is for us to decide. I'll give you my background, how I got hooked into this thing. When this ChatGPT was initially launched, I have a ChatGPT Plus subscription. So I didn't take it initially. Initially, I was actually on the free 3.5 version, which is just like, you know, I'm sure all of you have tried it out that. It can write you some nice email and blah, 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 all that kind of thing. But then I was actually in a place, a very interesting place in Rajahmundry. All of you know Rajahmundry, right? Somewhere it's a place somewhere in the coastal Andhra Pradesh. And we were actually having a discussion, just like a normal discussion of what's happening in IT, how it's going to impact us and all that thing. And this I'm talking about 9 months back, guys. 1 month after the launch, So there was a chartered accountant there, and he said, sir, I have taken the Plus subscription. The Plus subscription requires $20 per month you have to pay to OpenAI. He said, I've taken the Plus subscription. I said, what are you doing? Like, we are just playing with that, some mail, something and all the thing. What are you using it for? And this gentleman said me something very interesting, which was thinking. He said, sir, I am actually using ChatGPT as my drafting assistant. All my drafting of responses to notices, everything, I'm using it ChatGPT. And the $20 I'm paying it, if you convert in INR, how much will be? Some 1800 rupees. Imagine even article clerks, you don't get it for 1800 rupees, right? And you are getting a good assistant to work for you continuously without complaining, without taking leave, and they draft your first mail. Because any kind of thing which is there, and see, we are all chartered accountant, right? We always believe in ROI. If there is no ROI, do you think we invest into anything? No. So we are actually, this is something which was an eye-opener for me. I thought if a chartered accountant who is only in taxation practice can use it for that, can you imagine the kind of potential this technology have? It may be good or bad, we'll discuss about that. But generative AI, I'm again telling you, we have been talking about a lot of AI technologies, artificial intelligence related technology. But this one tech is changing the world over. I hope you have seen the fierce battle which happened recently at OpenAI, the board firing up and all that kind of thing. And I don't know how many of you have heard about some new word which they have got, that there is a new kind of invention which has happened, which OpenAI is not admitting it up, but there is a company called XAI, which is nothing but, imagine a kind of an artificial intelligence which is based on LLM model, which may also have its own conscious. Like as human, we have a conscious. Imagine a machine having a conscious. Now, but before we go into all that hanky-dory thing, we need to understand a very fundamental question. And the fundamental question is the genesis. When I say genesis, I hope you have been seeing a lot of movies. They will have sequels and prequel, right? Sequels are coming after the movie become a hit. And they said, before that movie, the prequel should have been this one. This is a prequel to that movie. Now, genesis is something like that. And that is something which the fourth industrial revolution actually comes up. So our talk, we will actually discuss it in two parts. The first part is, we'll talk about the genesis of what has led to this. And generative AI, what you are seeing it today, as per the expert, it is already, to be very upfront, dead. Like what you are seeing is like taken for granted. You can have it in your office also, the same technology. What they are talking about is the next kind of thing, which is going to be like 2000x better than what you're seeing right there. And imagine if that happens, how our lives will change. And that's something exactly we need to understand the sequence of what has led to this. Am I clear? It's like any questions so far, feel free to have an interactive session. It's clear, right? So let's get into the topic and we will try to see it, how it happens. So we will start with the genesis, okay? So to do the check-in, I would like to call upon a very interesting picture. Let's see if you can recognize anything of this picture. Anyone has seen this picture anywhere? Heard about this picture? No? First time? Huh? Gulliver and no. But yeah, very close to that one. Yes, you're right. Anyone else? Pied Piper? Okay. Close. See, now this is the most interesting thing. I have a question for you before I actually go into that. This was a question asked to me by a non-chartered accountant, and a very interesting question, and I'm actually throwing it open for you. He said, this gentleman who is actually into a lot of technological thing, he said, Anand, tell me one thing. In your profession as chartered accountant, who thought for the first time that there can be e-filing of income tax returns, was it a chartered accountant or a non-chartered accountant? Any guess? Huh? Non-chartered accountant? This is exactly the problem with our profession. And that is what I'm not telling it. This gentleman said, he said, see, you guys are so much into the day-to-day grinding, you're not seeing the big picture. Someone from outside is coming and saying, oh, we can disrupt it. Okay? And I'll tell you one more example of this. It's actually getting recorded, so no, I can't. Huh? You'll edit it, sir? I promise to do that, right? I don't want to write CA examination again, okay? So pause ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು. Google the word Luddites. You will figure it out what it is. Luddites was a movement which was there in 1816 onwards when the first industrial revolution started. And these were the people who were skilled laborer. Skilled laborer means these people used to do weaving. Weaving was a kind of thing which not easy. These people got affected because steam engines were powering the loom. You know, the looms powered by steam looms and other things started coming. When the steam looms started coming, these people lost job. So they formed a group. They used to call themselves Luddites. And their main aim was to go and destroy the factories. You can see there's a burning factory out there, and this is the British soldiers trying to protect that thing. They used to be fighting. This was an armed group. And they destroyed minimum, they said as per the records, more than 300 factories. But every factory they destroyed, there was a new factory set up immediately in the same place. The reason is the cost of skilled labor versus a steam loom, the ROI was 300x better than having a skilled labor doing the loom work. So can you imagine? Ultimately it died down. It was there. 5 years these people were armed protest destroying it up. Something, if you remember, even in India, there were 2 states, Kerala and UP, who said if computer comes, what will happen to the people with typewriter? Remember that? That was the statement. But do you see typewriter? Now only in museum, right? It's no more there. Even if you go to any of the court complex, you don't have it up. Now this is a very interesting analogy which will give us the understanding of what's happening because of generative AI. And there's a very interesting statement by John F. Kennedy, and that's very important for all of us today to actually sit and think over that. And this statement was very simple. It says, when we focus too much on the past and the present, we are going to miss the future. And future is no more the way what we have seen it. The future is changing, and you will understand that when we try to see it from. I am not, forget that. How many of you have seen CRAT? If you have seen CRAT, okay, the new scheme of our institute has come out with that. I was also part of in some of the part. How many of you know that when did they start the whole process of CRAT? Something around 2000 during the lockdown, post the opening of lockdown. And people may say many things, but I think there is one genesis to that also. See, there were 2 very interesting things which has come up in last 4-5 years, which I would highly recommend you to basically look into. The first one, I've actually been talking at many of the forum. This is a very interesting book by Richard Susskind and Daniel Susskind. Anyone has read this book? It's called The Future of the Professions. No? This book is written about 3 professions: lawyers, doctors, and accountants. And I would highly recommend you to read this book. This book was published in 2017. I got a copy of this in 2018. And if you are reading this book, my submission to you would be, start reading directly from chapter 3. Chapter 1-2 is like storyline and all the thing. But Richard Susskind and Daniel Susskind, you can't take them lightly. These 2 people are the people who in 1997, remember the time, 1997, these people predicted that email is going to be the de facto business communication model in the future. And do you see the amount of emails which we pass on every day today? So these people were very ahead of the time. They're a futurist who actually did it. Now, I am not saying that, but as per this Future of Profession, it's a very interesting book. He says, and can you see the last line in the down? How technology will transform the work of human experts. As chartered accountant, we are human experts. We specialize in the finance thing. You know, if you are, like I also work in the forensic accounting domain, we are called as expert witness. When we go into the court of law, as a chartered accountant, if I go and do a forensic accounting, they will say, oh, this is an expert witness. Chetan sir was there today morning. So it's an expert witness. You are an expert. But how is it going to transform us? This is very interesting. The first and foremost thing which is going to do, and that's something which the book talks about, very interesting, it says technology is not going to keep the thing the way it is. It's going to shake up the jar. Whatever we see, the change part is a very important thing. It's going to shake it up. It's like, and they are not talking about India, they're talking about the worldwide. So they said, and I'm not saying that, this book says, these three professions, as per Richard Susskind, they are like mafias. So you have to join the mafia, you have to show the loyalty to the mafia, and I sure all of anyone, no one wants to write CA examination again, right? Anyone here wants to write CA examination again? Right, so we have shown our loyalty to the group, we know. It can be bar council, it can be medical council. Everyone has a group. And how many of you seen the movie John Wick? Okay, only few people. Chartered accountants are boring people. Okay, John Wick, you've seen, he cuts his finger and offers it to the boss as a mark of his devotion to that. So we have also, done a lot of things, hard work to prove it ourselves. But most interesting thing, have you heard about the new terms which are there right now called paralegal, paramedicos? There are new terms which are there. Oh yeah, sir. I'm the edge of that thing. I'm on the So the point is that as per this thing, the most interesting thing they are talking about is that all these things which was earlier meant for a small set of people, the knowledge, it is now no more for only same set of people. Everyone can have access to the same knowledge. Yes, we have a skill set, training and all things, but machines, powering humans who are going to be basically more advanced when they support a human with doing it up. LLM, see, please understand, this book was written in 2017. We are talking about that. In that, there is one paragraph. That's the reason I'm quoting this book. He says that in future, when you are an expert, you consult your books and your knowledge. That was with some small people. Like for example, if you remember, earlier, when I was doing my articleship, we'll say, he is a big chartered accountant. How many numbers of files this person has? Number of files, income tax files they have, they're big C. Now, there are some people who are expert in that area. It can be income tax, VAT, GST. They are experts, so you consult them. But gone are the days when you are actually going to a human expert, because machines can also do it. And I'll actually show you a demo of this, if time permits, that just like a lawyer, I'll not show an accounting demo, but I'll show you, we will actually give you can give me an agreement which you have. Please give me a PDF agreement. We will actually load into the system and ask him to find loopholes. Just like a lawyer finds loopholes, the machines finds loopholes. And it's very powerful loopholes they give you. They don't give you one loophole, they give you multiple loopholes. So you decide on which one you want to take it up there. So the point is that this is something which is coming, and generative AI actually power that to a great extent. And the second thing which is very interesting, I would highly recommend you to read all of that. And I don't take a shame in telling it that I got into this when in the lockdown I read the first version. There is two reports are there. The Future of Job Report 2020 and the Future of Job Report 2023. The 2020 report is a very interesting report. And I think our institute has somewhere taken a kind of a cue from that, because if you go to that Future of Job Report 2020, you can actually go and quote it up. Let me see if I have it up with me. Yeah, it is here. This is one of the extract of that report. I'm sure a lot of places you have seen it up there. Top 20 jobs increasing, decreasing demand across industries worldwide. Can you see where we are? We are on the 4th number. But no one reads the whole report. It's a 163 pages report. If you read the report, it doesn't say that these things are getting eliminated. No. It is something like, have you seen, okay, I'm sorry, giving one more movie example. Have you seen this movie, Catch Me If You Can? There's a movie, yeah? There's a movie about a fraudster and doing fraud and all thing. In that, they show a cockpit of a plane. And in the cockpit of the plane, do you remember in the 1970s or 80s, if you have a transatlantic flight, how many pilots will be there? Earlier, they used to have minimum 5 pilots. 2 pilots, 1 navigator, 2 engineers. This used to be the standard configuration for every cockpit. Today, how many are there? 2. Earlier, the job of 5 is now handled by 2. What has changed? They are now empowered with better technology. They have more information, make decisions, and that is exactly what they are saying. They are saying it's not eliminated. And can you see on the left-hand side what are the things which are coming up as emerging areas? Now, these areas are actually getting implemented by our institute. At many places of time, you will be seeing it up happening. So, all these things are coming from what we call it as the future of job reward. So, if you take these 2 artifacts and go through it, friends, you will appreciate one point that, and this is something I'm quoting, I was at one place called IIPM, Indian Institute of Petroleum Management, Gurgaon. It is actually an IOC's facility, and I had some session there, and there the reception has a very interesting mural. You know, there's a backside, there's a big mural at the reception, and you know what was the mural says? It says, change ... before you are forced to change. Imagine, this is IOC is a Fortune 500 company. It is telling their people to change proactively instead of reactively when you will be forced to change. So that is kind of a very interesting statement which is coming from that. And that exactly leads to the next part of my discussion, which I told you are the genesis. And this genesis is something which we need to appreciate, because friends, this is what is something going to power the next revolution. Whatever we are seeing it today happening, the genesis lies here. So let's start with the first industrial revolution. 1784, we had the first industrial revolution powered by steam. When we say industrial revolution, tell me one thing, you know, as chartered accountant, the first essay or AAS which used to be told, which was very important in examination perspective, was knowledge of the business. As chartered accountant, we sometimes have better knowledge of the business than the businessman himself. And that is our specialty. So we should be proud of that. Knowledge of the business, when you have it up, tell me one thing. If the environment in the business changes, can you still stay back in the same old way and do the things? No, we have to change with that. We have to understand, appreciate that thing, and only then we can take that forward. Exactly the same thing. The first industrial revolution was about mechanization, steam-powered devices, and most interestingly, it was in garment industry. That's why you see the Luddite movement. But when revolution happens, it was very fast. Like imagine if I'm going for 10% year-on-year growth, at the revolution time, it is 40% compounded, I'm actually growing it up there. So the speed at which I'm going to grow is going to be very fast. Now 1784 is this revolution started. But if you remember the first slide I showed you, Luddites, which year was that? 18. See, every revolution to take a time, it has to have a kind of a prequel, it has to take some time to reach the peak. The peak for that came in 1811. That is the time when the peak came, and then the revolution started. The second revolution started in 1870, and it was powered by electrical engines and all things. Next time you go to, next time you're in US and you're visiting New York, I hope you know these two scientists had lab very close to each other. So there is a place in New York, New Jersey called Edison, where the lab of Thomas Alva Edison, where the first tube, bulbs were done, is there. I got a chance to visit it. And just 20 miles from that, do you know famous Tesla? The scientist, Nikola Tesla, his lab is also there. There is a bust which the, the like basic municipality has put it in his thing. Now imagine 20 kilometers and they were two people who used to be like fighting each other like anything. But that was a time of the revolution because so much of updates, so much of changes were happening out there. And that time, it started in 1870, but the peak came in 1930s when the peak came. And if you want to see a documentary on that, the best thing you can watch is a movie by Charlie Chaplin called Modern Times. Anyone has seen that movie? Oh yeah, that's amazing, right? And I'm sure most of you have seen the clip of Charlie Chaplin going into the machine, coming out, fed by a machine. That was the movie Modern Times, and that movie came in 1934. Now imagine 1934, did you see the amount of automations, mass assembly line, electricity being used? In fact, they show CCTV cameras there. In that movie, they show the camera that he will instruct the person, go and switch on this one, and they do that kind of thing. Now that was second industrial revolution. The third industrial revolution, you and me, all of us have been part of that. So let me ask you one question, right? If you are seeing this thing, and I'm not quoting it mine, this is actually, if you get a chance, I would highly recommend you to go to YouTube and watch a talk by Mr. Ramesh, who was the ex-head of Deloitte in India. He has given a talk at Bombay Chartered Accountants Society channel on a term called the future of audit. It's a 1-year-old video. If you get a chance, highly recommended. Very much for anyone who is in it's like, how many of you are below the age of 40 here? Okay, for you, permanently. Others, like, doesn't matter. 20 years will survive somehow. Okay, others, you have the problem. Okay, so below the age of 40, you have a problem. Please watch it up. No, I'm just telling you the honest thing. Okay, don't take it. I'm not shaming anyone. Like, I am 44. I don't care too much about that. I will survive somehow. But yes, my daughter, she is now enrolled for CA. She has to worry about all these things. Okay, and I read the whole future of job report for her only. No, I'm not joking. Like, how many of you are first generation chartered accountant here? Okay, so all first generation chartered accountant, you know that, like, we are all trial and error chartered accountant, right? Like, I cleared my foundation first attempt, but inter was 6 times. So, final was first attempt, that was okay. But inter made you cry, okay? Like, that made you go to all the temples near institute and cover it up. So I know Tuesday, Anjanaya temple, that temple, everything covered. But as a first generation chartered accountant, you will do anything to pass. You know, first 2-3 attempts, you become desperate. So one of my friend told me, you are not passing the examination, you know why? I said, no. He said, you are sitting under the beam, and Vastu Prakara, if you sit under a beam, the whole building pressure is on your head. So next time in St. Joseph College, I was searching, where is the beam? Okay, how many of you are sitting under the beam? Be careful, okay? So we are first generation chartered accountant, and all first generation chartered accountant, I am sure I can give you, this is, you have a secret desire. You don't tell it anyone, it's a secret desire. It's like your kid should also do CA. It's simple, why should only you suffer? No, teenage kids, I have 2 teenage kids, so now I know the pain of teenagers. So anyone who has teenage kids will agree with me. So by the time they come, I said, okay, Baba, do CA, like 2-3 times you will fail, you will then come ground zero. Then we will discuss, everything else, okay? So, but I am a responsible father, so I also checked it a future of job that my, daughter would have a, if she become a CA, she should have a safe, life. So it's actually good, but it's changing, that's the kind of thing. So third industrial revolution, if you read Mr. Ramesh, and this is like his video, he's talked one very interesting example, and I'll just quote that and we'll go to the next one. He said, if you take 2 companies, which is representing the industry, let's say IBM representing IT companies, and Volkswagen representing the automobile company. If the amount of advancement which has happened in IT, the same would have happened in automobile industry, today you would have a car which will go round the earth in 1 liter of petrol and not require any kind of maintenance all its life. Did that happen in your cars? No. So that the kind of advancement which has happened. Like, I don't know if you have read this recent article which came in the Economics Time, that if you are using an Apple MacBook M2, that chipset which you are having in M2 is 5,000 times more powerful than the chipset of the Mars rover. You know, we send it a Mars rover, that robot. The chipset which is there, your laptop, if you are using a MacBook, it is more powerful than that. So imagine the power of all this computing which has happened. So third industrial revolution happened. And then we go to what, and this term is not by me, you should go to a site called World Economic Forum. The main homepage, you will start with fourth industrial revolution. So World Economic Forum says, hey, you know what? We have entered in 2018 the fourth industrial revolution. We have just entered. The peak has not come. We have just entered. And there is a gentleman called Klaus Schwab who has written a book also on the fourth industrial revolution. He's the chairman and founder of World Economic Forum. And he said that the amount of change and impact of fourth industrial revolution which we are going to see is something which humankind has never seen. It is going to change the way we work, we connect with each other, and most importantly, the way our lives are going to change. And he gave one example there in the book, which I'm just quoting it. He says, do you know telephone, to reach 100 million users, it took 75 years, the telephone connections, the adoption of a new technology. But how many of you have played this game which was there, Pokemon Go? Anyone? No. Pokemon Go got 100 million users in 1 month. And ChatGPT, the generative AI, do you know it got 100 million users in 17 days? Can you see the speed at which things are changing? 100 million people had access to this technology in 17 days of launch. Can you imagine the speed at which things are changing now? And most interestingly, they talk about one thing called CPS. So let's say, let me ask you one thing. How many of you here have an iPhone? Raise your hand. Okay, iPhone. Only few rich people in the session. iPhone, hey, iPhone is rich people, right? So have you asked Siri, who's your father? No? Lockdown, what are you doing? So, lockdown, I did this experiment with 3 devices. Siri, okay Google, and Alexa. So, Siri was most interesting. You know why? If you ask the Siri the same question, the first time it will say the engineers at Apple. If you repeat it 2-3 times, it will change it to Steve Jobs. Then next 30 times, it will actually use this 2 point only, either engineers at Apple or Steve Jobs. But more than 40 times if you ask Siri, Siri becomes angry. Now that's amazing, okay? Okay Google, not so great. Okay. Siri was most amazing. Alexa, How many of you have Alexa at home? How many of you? Okay. Have you used the regional language settings in that? You can set it up like to, right now I think Kannada is also supported, Hindi is supported, Telugu is supported, and Tamil is supported. These are and Bengali also. 5 languages are supported. So I have actually changed it to Hindi in my home because my mom uses it. My mom will say, play Vishnu Sahasranama. Like Hindi mein she will say, Alexa, Vishnu Sahasranam bajao, kind of thing. And it was doing it fine. Sometimes it will not understand what my mother is saying because my mother is like around 74 now. So one day my mother was angry and she says, Alexa, tu mar ja. I'm not making it out, you can try it at home. And then my mother only told me later, she said, Are shub shub bolo. Now imagine, this is the regional, because see, English is a different thing, but when you play it with in our regional languages, it's very interesting because how can a machine tell you like, Are shub shub bolo kind of thing? And this was like my mom frustrated telling it up. And this is amazing. We call this as cyber physical system. See, your Alexa is not just that box or what you have in a computer. Alexa has a cloud. It has actually, if you see, each person's my Siri is different. And similarly, think of this. A Tesla car. Is it a computer or is it a car? It's a cyber physical system. You can't differentiate. If you see just a car, You have seen what happened to the Cybertruck. Recently Cybertruck was pulled by a Ford truck. So Ford was making more fun of that your Tesla Cybertruck is useless. But the point is that it can drive itself. It's an amazing feature. Okay, that self-driving concept which is there, that is why Tesla car has that value. Otherwise, no one is going to buy Tesla car. It's a useless car. It's only people buy it because of the machines or the cyber physical system which is powering it up. It is Internet of Things. We are having a big data analytics, and I want you to remember this term, big data analytics. This LLM system, the generative AI, what we are seeing it, would have not been feasible without the amount of data we are generating. We are generating a huge amount of data. When I say huge amount of data, do you know there is an event which happened at Google, which is called Google I/O Conference. I/O is like 1, 0, binary, that is 1 and 0. And Google I/O Conference, Eric Schmidt, who was a past chairman of Google, he said one very interesting thing. You can see it on YouTube, it is already there. He said, the amount of data we are generating every 2 days today is equivalent to the amount of data we generated from the dawn of the civilization, when humans were painting on the caves, till 2005. Imagine that amount of data, because have you noticed we go for anything, we just take a picture, 2 MB. We don't bother too much about that. And there was just 10 years back time was there when we used to count 36 done. Remember that cameras with all that kind of thing? That was also data, this is also data. This is a kind of a different type of data, picture. There are other data which is getting generated on a day-to-day thing, and that is fascinating. And all these things are the genesis which is making a last mile connections for all the technology changes which are going to happen it up. And the most interesting of this is, can you see this open source revolution? This is the most interesting thing. How many of you know that you can actually download ChatGPT codes and make your own ChatGPT? How many of you are aware of that? No one? Open source. Go to GitHub, you can download the source code. In fact, recently, if you are aware of there is another generative AI which has been launched by Elon Musk, Grok. Grok is on Twitter. So if you ask the same question to Grok and the same question to ChatGPT, the answer was coming same. So people figure it out that it is using some of the codes of OpenAI. It's an open source. Anyone can use it. You can use it, and I'll actually show you some of the things which we can actually use it in finance and audit, and that's going to be very interesting. So all the things are leading. So this slide took me some time to make. Whatever technology you're seeing it here are all open source. Do you know our Aadhaar database? Any guesses where it is stored? It is stored on MongoDB. Can you see on document store? I'm sure no one likes your picture on Aadhaar card, right? That is the MongoDB out there. And it's an open source, which means Government of India pays 0 money for the database. They just manage it up. Open source. Now that's kind of the power of that. And this open source revolution is changing the way we see things around us. And that is impacting what we call the finance 4.0. So the industry 4.0 is impacting finance 4.0. And how does it happening? You can see we are having more data-driven processes. We are having multi-dimensional collaboration. Gone are the days when we see things in silos. Now you are seeing overall picture, and if you have heard about some of the companies or most of the corporates now have something called as data lake, which means all the data of the industry or the organization is in one place. And finance has a complete chance of doing a correlation, why the sales has decreased in this part vis-a-vis something other thing happening in this area, so we know, oh, what's happening out there. Think of checking holistic on company-wide data use, which was earlier, reduced. And the next 2 points are very important. Technology-based business transformation. There is one very interesting statement. I don't know how many of you heard this. It actually came in Harvard Business Review, one article. Every business is a digital business today, including the restaurant, any educational, whatever you talk about, every business has digital in that. If you are not using it, it's not going to work it out there. And the last but not least, I will ask you one question. What is an average age of a company on the Fortune 500 list? You know, Fortune 500 list get published. What is an average age of a company? How many years it can stay in that thing on average? Any guesses? Huh? Max 10? What would be the average? Max? Many years, okay. The mean age is 3.6 years. If you remove all the oil companies, energy company, you have to remove it up because energy companies are there constantly. So you remove energy company, all other companies, average age, which means getting on the top is easy. Staying on the top, stuff. This is actually in HBR, 3.6 years. Now that means, and they have actually given, the companies which have survived there the longest have a culture of experimentation. How many of you know a term called Google graveyard? Anyone knows Google graveyard? One person in the class, okay. No one, only you know, sir. That's a, you know all the tools which have failed in Google, they have put it into a place called Google graveyard. You just search this term. So people think, oh, Google is a great organization. It is a great organization. We see only the successful product. But there are hundreds of other products which they have actually made, launched, lost, and to be conservative. You know, conservatism is taught to us as a topic. But that conservatism is good in finance, not in our way to do that. And that's something which is required for surviving in Industry 4.0. So all these things are then leading to a very interesting thing, which I want to talk about from a very interesting survey which was done by this organization called MIT Sloan and Capgemini. And they said everyone knows about that. I am 110% sure before I told you all these things, you guys are also feeling it up that there's a financial transformation happening, there's a technology waste happening. And they did this thing, they asked CEOs, 90% of the CEOs, they believed, yes, there is going to be a change. But when they told them, what are you doing to actionize on that? Can you see the number out here? Less than 15%. Now this 15% are going to be the guys who would be leading it up because there's always a first mover advantage which we need to understand and appreciate. So that brings us to the second part of our discussion on generative AI. Okay? Anyone knows this picture? I took a lot of time to search on the net and bring it up here. Anyone knows this picture? No? So don't search with Google Lens. You put Google Lens, it will come up, oh, this is a picture which is there. But what is this picture? Anyone knows? How many of you seen this movie Terminator? And there is something called Skynet. Skynet wants to kill all the humans. So this is the user interface of Skynet. So you can say system analyzing, running Skynet, kernel, updating it up. It's actually a picture which comes in the movie also. And Skynet is the thought process which has been given to us saying, oh, the world is going to be something like that. But actually, no. Generative AI and AI per se, if you see, is something not a new thing. Can you see this MIT paper? This is more than maybe 60 years now. Sorry, 50, my mistake, calculation mistake. It's a document where they are talking about pattern recognitions in which year, can you see this? 1966. Now, these people had all the concept of artificial intelligence, which we know today, with them at that point of time. What they didn't have is two things. Can anyone tell me what two things they didn't have at that time? Any guesses? Internet, okay. Good. What else? Huh? The computing power and the data. Requiring so much of data so the machines can learn. Generative AI, have you noticed generative AI is not smart. They try to act smart. Like anyone has generated any email from ChatGPT? Like you put an email and say, draft an answer for that. and it gives you an answer for, a reply for that. It tries to act smart. It's not smart. It's something like what we used to do in our, theory papers in CA. Blade, all of you know that term, right? So generative AI also has to, for writing a blade also, you should be smart enough to write what blade you can write, right? So generative AI is like, it writes a blade, but it is very smart. It acts in such a way, you will feel, oh my God, this is so beautiful. But actually it's all blade, okay? And we'll see it, we'll actually show it to you. So the point is that this is not a new thing. And coming to the second part, if you have to have the definitions of AI, it's a very basic definition. It's like ability of machines to think and learn. Just think and learn. And generative AI is the best example of that, but generative AI is not the only AI we have it up. This is, I just got a chance to bring it up. Can you see there are different areas of AI which is there? It is not just this one part which we see it up. See, even there is something called as NLP, natural language processing, right? So let's say I want to actually say, okay, so my internet is down. Let me connect my net. So have you seen this feature which is already there? And I don't know how many of you, when you were in your articleship time and all the thing, have played with one software we used to play with called Dragon Naturally Speaking. Anyone has used that software? No one. Okay. Oh, sir has tried it. Sir, how much time it took to train that software first time? How much time it will take to train the software when you were trying it? Quite some time. It was like, I remember during my articleship, I got this software and was trying to do it. It used to take like 40 to 50 minutes to just tell them basic thing, and you have to speak slowly and all that kind of thing. Now from there we have come today, you can see this is NLP which is there. It's there in your Microsoft Office 365. And I can actually just, whatever I'm saying, it is just putting it out there in that. In fact, there are also options for that. You can try Hinglish, Kanglish, Kannada English. Have you tried it? No? So like you have this word, bedage, bedage. When you translate it in English, what you'll say? Ma'am, morning, morning. But there's no word called morning, morning in English, right? This is Kanglish, right? So we have Kannada English and everything, all the versions which are there will come out there. So the point is, it will not be as correct as we can see. Let me just put it out. But this is also a kind of thing. So you can see speech to text, text to speech. We see it all the time. Image recognition and machine learning. Image recognition, I am 100% sure all of you have used Google Lens for translating any of the documents. You like acted as a document. It can translate in English to Kannada, Kannada to English, whatever version you want it up immediately. Expert system, natural language processing. And can you see the top one which is there here? Machine learning. Generative AI, what we see today, ChatGPT, and there are Llama, there are hundreds of models which are there. What they are called as LLMs, large language model. Imagine if you have a kid at home and the moment this person has started speaking, or by 10 years old, when he knows basic English and all the thing, you put him every day 10 hours in front of YouTube to watch videos after videos after videos after videos. And you made it happen for 20 years. Don't you think that kid would actually learn everything from the videos what he's seeing it up there? Yes or no? Yes? Now you may think, oh, it will be very tough to do it. No. Shall I tell you one thing? The technology which is here in this machine learning, we are already using it as chartered accountant for last 10 years. And you are using it and we don't know it up. What technology is that? Anyone? I'll give you a hint. It is related to Excel. Okay. Huh? Sorry? Sorry, I couldn't hear you, sir. No, not gas. Okay. It's macros. When you are using Excel macro, you record a macro. Who writes the code for you? Huh? Excel will write the code in which one? VB? It will write the code itself, right? that this person wanted to do this, write a code. The program will be written in VB by the machine itself. Excel macros are there since when? Anyone? Huh? It is Excel 97. Remember Excel 97, it was still there. It was small macros that time. Now we have very advanced macros which are there. If you see, it is writing the code. Now imagine if I give a computer a lot of data and said, based on the data, write a code itself. Don't you think it can write a code? Just at a high level, not at a macro level, at a high level. So it's not a new technology, it's an old technology. People are using it in a different way. And you have to give it to this one. I remember I attended one very interesting session by Dr. Devi Shetty. Dr. Devi Shetty was called by NASSCOM to be the keynote address at a technology event. Imagine he's a cardiologist. What is he doing in a technology? He's a doctor. And he came and he gave a keynote address, and one very interesting example he said, people don't see technology in the way they should be seeing it up. They see technology as a box or anything. It is not a box. It is like a hack. What I say hack is, he gave an example and I'm just sharing it with you. He said, as a cardiologist, I have to do a lot of operations. And then I used to earlier dictate all these things in a dictaphone and my assistant will type it up. But they used to do mistake. So what I tried using it, have you seen the same feature I showed you of I just speaking and I'm typing it up? In your mobile phone also it is there. Have you seen where your keyboard is there, there will be a kind of a mind. I started using it up and it was amazing. At the time I'm going home or I am in between something, I can just dictate it up and it was, the efficiency was much better. But there was a problem. You know what was the problem? There are some tongue twister words. Like remember I typed the word, I said a word Kanglish, but what was jotted down there was Canish. It couldn't get the right word Kanglish in the right way. So there was some word which was not coming, and he did find a very interesting solution for that. So Dr. Devi Shetty said, I just did one thing. I just asked my assistant to add all these terms as contact in my phone. So the tongue twister, like the names were added as contacts in his phone. If you have the contacts, the machine automatics knows this is the kind of thing and it will type it correctly. So that is the kind of power which we are seeing it up there. And the machine learning is based on the same concept what we see here. Experience versus instruction. In the traditional programming, if you see engineers, they would be given what we call it as something like a instruction. And based on the instruction, they will write a code, right? Have you seen one example? Nowadays, engineers are not getting job, especially freshers. No? Do you think they are getting jobs? I think they have a bad problem. Anyone knows what is the reason for that? Huh? Lack of skills? Or if I can just, maybe let me just see if I can just show it to you. How many of you know that people are using now, in our office also, we are writing many of the baseline codes on ChatGPT. Have you written code on ChatGPT? Okay, can you see this on the screen? I'll just say write a code for mass mailing in Python. See, I don't even, maybe I will not even know it up, and it will just create a kind of a basic thing. It's saying, okay, we'll do respect all this blah blah blah, all the things says, but here is the basic code, it is writing it for me. So if I am actually a programmer, don't you think I will just ask it to write the basic code and then do changes to that instead of writing it from scratch? And if it can do in Python, it can do in Java, you name it, any of the things, it will write it for you. Now the point is that this has led to a kind of a new kind of requirement, prompt engineering, okay? And it is learning, see? It is also telling the nodes to replace it up there. In fact, people are writing virus codes using this one. Yeah, that is a like issue is there, some of the thing. And you can see this is ChatGPT 4 which I'm using. There are, if you try in 3.5, it will have another issues which can work it out there. So the point which I'm trying to say is it's actually a learning machine which is updating itself as we are talking about that. So it's learning from what we call it as experience not from instruction. It has already had that, okay, similar kind of things can be written. So instead of defining logic programming and data sources, what I am doing is I am trying to go through data set for training, learning model, and taking it forward. And this is something which is very, very powerful, guys. And last but not least, I want to talk about one very interesting thing here. So let me put it on the screen. Now, do you think we can put some kind of personal data on ChatGPT, on a generative AI software systems? Yes or no? Yes? No, it's what happened, I don't know. Okay, I have duplicated the screen. I wanted to show you something. Okay, so how many of you know another version, and let's try to see it because we have paucity of time. Next, I will try to have 10 minutes per question. How many of you have tried H2O GPT? Anyone has tried H2O GPT, friends, here? No? Okay, let me show it to you and then we'll discuss it up. See, this is new end of generative AI, which you can actually put it in a server in your office. Because don't you think you are not comfortable putting your personal data on any of the sites which are there, right? So in that kind of situation, this is a very interesting solution. You have the source code. This is an H2O.ai is an open source solution. And what is very interesting about this people is they have given the complete code free of cost. So they use the word democratizing generative AI. In fact, I learned a new word 2 weeks back in one of the conference. There is a new term for all of us, like chartered accountant and anyone who's doing this. The term is called citizen developer. So you don't need to be a developer knowing engineering and all the thing. Even a person from arts and everything who understand the basic concept, it's called low code, no code, can do it up. And I can see all their solution, sorry, if you can see it, everything is open source. Okay, so let's try to see one example here. And I will actually, I have a sample NDA document which is there. I'll try to see if I can, okay, this one, signed NDA. I have an NDA document, okay? So I'm uploading this document, and once I upload the document, it's not done, 1 minute. It's reading that document. You can see this. You can actually have it in your server in your office. Okay, what did I did with the connections? Okay, it will work. There was an error on my side. Just give me 1 second, let me refresh it out. Okay, let me upload. See, this takes a lot of computing power. Huh? Right now I'm using a free version, so they become little careful in terms of dealing with that. So I've submitted that document. And you can see on the left hand side, it is trying to read my data. So it is making, it will make around 76 billion analysis on this one thing. Is humanly possible to do 76 billion analysis on one document? Like humans can see data in 2 dimension or 3 dimension. Now it will see the same data in 76 billion different perspective. Okay, ChatGPT does 126 billion type. So it's more advanced than this one. We'll try to see this thing. Okay. Find any loophole in the agreement. You can try your own. I'm just giving you an example here, and I submit this question. Now imagine this is like 4 different people or 4 different human experts trying to come out with their answer. You see, this first model is Llama. This is from Meta. Second is actually Mixtral, which is another open source. Third one is GPT 3.5, which is from OpenAI. And the fourth one is different. Now, what I want to show you is each one will give different versions to that. Want to see that? Let me just try to take it forward. So it says, based on the information, the receiving party immediately, like this is an NDA document, non-disclosure agreement. So therefore, it could be argued the receiving party may still possess something, some point. It has one different perspective. Now you see this one. It has got only one potential loophole. And it has said the loophole is related to confidentiality clause. Okay. Now I'll try to go to the third model. Now this model is saying, no, I couldn't get anything. So the third model is said, see, something like going to 4 doctors. One says, I don't find anything. Someone says, I think there is one issue. The other guy says, there may be a thing. And this fourth one is saying, yeah, there is one issue, that transferability rights. Can you see the other one was telling there is an issue in confidentiality. Here someone is telling there is no transferability right. Now don't you think this is the kind of power which is coming to your hand, which will work wonders. It is something like, as a human expert, I have already discussed with 4 experts, got 4 different views. Final decision will be taken by me only. I will take the final decision. But I have got a chance to make 4 different versions, and I'm playing with that. Now, my only point which I would like you to know is, don't think this as only ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just one model. There are hundreds of new models which are coming, which are more advanced than ChatGPT, and you can add new models to that one and play it up as the way you would like to do that. And people are working on that. But there is one challenge to that. The last slide I want to talk about is this. The question comes, how did, like there is a word called XAI. How did the machine came with this recommendation? Can I do an audit trail? Can I figure it out how it is done? Not possible. It is a black box out there. If I ask the same question again, it may give me say a different answer this time. Now you may say, oh, last time you gave me this answer, this time you are giving this answer. This is the problem with LLM. So if you are auditing it, you have the challenge. The business understanding is different. Like for example, right now one of our client is using it, you know, for what purpose? For budgeting. So they said all the budgets, they have put it up there and they have put this H2O GPT, and what happens next is very interesting. Anyone has any question on the budget, how much available, how much you use, everything, they said don't come to the finance team. Just log on, ask your questions, let it happen. Why you are bothering us? We have better things to do. And in large conglomerate, budgeting is a big issue. All of we know that. So people are using this. Please understand that. It's not like we are just doing it. The first thing people see is, oh, how can I use it in my day-to-day work? How can it make my life easier? And you have to understand one thing. If someone says, oh, if all these things come, our jobs are going away. No, it's not going away. Tell me one thing. When first time all this Excel and everything became big thing, spreadsheets and everything, whom would you hire? A chartered accountant without knowledge of that, or a chartered accountant with knowledge of Excel macros and all things? I will always go with the chartered accountant who has knowledge of that one, right? That's the kind of thing. You should know how to use it. We should learn from Devi Shetty. It's not the technology which is important. Today, LLMs are there. Tomorrow, hundreds of other things is going to come. How do we adapt to that? How do we use it? How do we take that forward? And for that, we need to have a transformational mindset. That's very important. You should be able to adapt to all these things. Guys, the future of work is changing. Companies are not going to be working the way we have been working. I remember when I was doing my CA, we used to write this in the books of account, this is the entry, in the books of Y, this is the entry. When you actually go into the corporates, and I work for all these companies, you see that even the closing entries are now passed machine in SAP and all things automatically. So think of that. We have to be, as a human expert, it will be like humans and machine together who can work wonders. It will be like a sidekick, someone supporting us. And that's the reason we should have this transformational mindset to be able to do that. And only then you can think of moving the business to X. You remember finding X, find the value of X. We used to have it. Now that X is a very important thing. Many businesses as we see today will not exist. Many new businesses will come. I still remember when I was doing my articleship, I did in a small and medium firm in Bangalore, CMM Sharma & Co. So third year articleship, we used to get one Motorola pager, you know. A lot of people don't even know about pager, right? Have you seen Pushpa? He has that pager, right? And I remember pager used to be a great thing, right? So people used to put it on their belt here and walk on the thing. We used to show off our thing. And one small technology came and killed the whole paging industry. And that was SMS, short messaging services. The moment SMS came, it actually killed the whole industry. So we are going to have a lot of transformation, and that is something which we need to do that. So friends, in end, I would like to just summarize. I think we are on time, last 10 minutes for some Q&A. Thanks for sitting on a Friday evening. So such a, like, otherwise this is not a last session. But the point is, I would like to say that, friends, all this generative AI is actually just the beginning of a great time. Now we can actually be scared of this and, you know, stay away from that, or adapt it. And I'm sure as chartered accountant, with the knowledge of the business and with knowledge of all those things, we would be in a much better position to be able to take care of this, utilize this, and really take the business to the X. And that's something which I would like to do. Thank you very much for your patience here. Thank you. Any questions or anything, feel free. Otherwise, anyway, it's a Friday evening. Bangalore, no one sits on Friday evening, okay? Everyone will be hitting a pub or anything. But any questions? Yes, sir. It will be big time, sir. I'll tell you. See, the low-end jobs of, we use a word, and I'm using the word, cyber coolie. So there is cyber coolie job, means low-end job of some small changes and all thing. We do a billing of maybe $30, $25 per hour for that, remotely running low-code. No. Like personally, I use one tool called Nine. When I was in Goldman Sachs and Infosys, we used to use a tool called ACLI Idea. Now they cost, each version costs 1 lakh rupees, one license. I use Nine, which is open source, zero. And I use it extensively. And I can just drop and drag, and it will write the code itself. So it's called low-code, no-code platform, which are going to become very, very prevalent across the things. That's my suggestion. Yeah. Any other questions, friends? No? All clear? It means I was like so clear in whatever I said. You understood everything. Okay. So thank you very much, patient, for your patience, and great. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful session on the topic generative AI. On the behalf of managing committee members of Bangalore branch of ICAI and all the members present here, I thank you for the wonderful session. And I request Tupad, CA Tupad, managing committee member, to present a memento as a token of appreciation.
Thank you, sir. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, all members.